Hi everybody, Alan Denman here, Narrowboat Lockdown number 5. And as you can see, we're no longer in haze. We got our diesel pump fitted, that was fantastic. Great success there. And we moved all the way up to Perivale. Very leafy, very beautiful, very natural up here. So it's a lovely spot. And of course, one of the things that you have to do as a constant cruiser is monitor your resources. And your chief resource, really, because it's about life and death, is we need water. So what we have to do every 10 days or so is we've got to move to a new water point. We have a tank underneath us, holds 150 gallons. Now that may sound a lot, but for 2 people, we do a lot of washing up, a lot of cooking, and have baths and showers and everything else. And so that water can go very easily. You learn to value every drop of water, every drop of H2O. So here's a question that we've been dealing with. Oh, one other thing as well is the water points are few and far between in London, and the water pressure is not always good, so it can take you an hour, hour and a half to fill up and so forth. So it's a real hassle, and it's always there in the back of your mind. When are we going to run out of water? When are we going to have to move? So we've been grappling with this problem, and we think we've come up with a solution. And I want you just look at the water out there, the canal water. Here we go.
It's a bit green and brackish, and there's some fairly dodgy things floating in it.
Yeah. But how would you feel if you could take the water from the canal and you could use it for washing, and you could even drink it?
Ew!
Well, might sound horrible, but this is what we've done. We've had a water filtration system installed, and what I'm going to do now is take over the camera and interview Aisha. Aisha's going to run through the system with you. Perhaps just the very first thing to see is just here.
Hang about, this is my job. Oi, oi.
Well,
Union rules, mate.
Here, come over this way.
Oh, I wanted to show that bit.
All right. So this is where the water's coming in. We got it on this side, on the away from the towpath.
Try not to drop the camera in the drink.
That's not a good idea, that. So I'm going to drop this back in, and that sits about 15, 18 inches under the surface of the water, where the water's a little bit clearer. But now I'm going to take over. So Aisha, would you mind passing the camera to me?
Oh, I think I could do that. Here we go. Okay, massively technical, turning camera around.
Wonderful.
I think I might actually have to put my sunglasses on. It is so gorgeously bright today. I have to say I'm probably the main impetus behind us getting a water filtration system, because I like having baths. This is probably the biggest area of arguments between Alan and myself. I like having baths, and he likes conserving the water. So really, to save our marriage, we needed to get this water system put in. It cost a few bob, but I think it's absolutely worth every penny. So here we go. You want to know how it works, okay. I guess.
So I'm going to move down. Is that okay? Can you?
Okay. Everybody's probably looking at my fabulous manky old shoes at the moment, are you?
Okay.
I don't know.
No.
Okay. So here we go. I'm actually sitting in front of the water system, or what makes up the main part of it. Alan showed you earlier the first and most important thing, and that is the bit of hose pipe that we have going actually down into the canal itself. You possibly saw a minute ago that there was a little filter on there, so that gets the worst of the stuff not going through the hose pipe. It filters, obviously large pieces of rubbish, but as you can probably imagine, it's still fairly filthy when it's going through your system.
So how does the water get up
from
the canal?
Very, very good question. This beautiful little device here, which is the thing that we spent the most money on, it is a water pump, but a beautiful water pump. It's made in Italy. We had to wait about 3 months for this to arrive. But as this little creature is the thing doing the most work, it's where you want to put your money, because every time you need to draw more water, this has got to kick into gear and suck it up basically from the canal along this pipe, and then push it through this series of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 filters. Okay. if you guys got that.
So what does the filter look like? Can you
It's
show us?
funny you should ask. So if we were to unscrew one of these filter housings, what we would see inside is one of these. This is a filter, okay, so it slots into there, and as the water is pushed through this piping system, it has to get pushed through this filter before it can move on to the next filter along the series.
So are the filters all the same?
No, they are not. This particular filter is what's called 50 micron, okay? So that's describing basically the little size of the holes that the water is being pushed through. So as you go down each filter, those microns get smaller and smaller and smaller until you get to our last two, which are actually there for filtering hydrocarbons. So that's things like diesel, yeah, oil, all that awful thing that some naughty boaters get into the water. And the last filter, metals, that's right. So lead and other nasties like that, mercury, you wouldn't want to be drinking those things.
Okay.
So probably the question that we get asked most is, surely that's not safe, right? Surely you can't, even going through these wonderful filters, surely that's not water that you can actually drink. Well, for your drinking water, there is actually a sixth filter that we put it through. That one is under our kitchen sink, looks exactly like these, but the sixth filter is the finest filter, and that will take things out at even a bacterial level before it goes into your drinking water tap. You don't need to do that for bath water and water that you wash up in, what we call grey water. There's not such an urgency there, but obviously anything you are going to ingest, you might want to make sure that you've got that last and final filter taking out any nasty bacterias and things like that. Okay. Now, I must admit, I was a little bit skeptical when I first heard about the water filtration system a year ago. But I've done my research. I've spoken to people that had the same filtration system fitted by actually the same guy who did ours, and they report that it was life-changing. Okay, so that made a massive difference to how often they needed to move, not having to stand with hose pipes and taps on a cold winter's day, filling up tanks. And actually, in their estimation, provided cleaner water. Cleaner, I have heard from some boaters, than even those you would, the water you'd get through a municipal system in a house. Because you think about it, guys, the water that you're drinking in houses is still going through pipes in many cases put down by the Victorians over 100 years ago. So there's nasties in there as well. It is arguable that our water is actually cleaner because we're putting it through so many filters. I will be testing it. I've got myself a little water testing kit just to be 100% certain, because that's certainly nothing you want to mess with. You do want to make sure any really bad bacteria, like something like E. coli, is definitely not in your water, not even for showering, because of course your skin does ingest a little bit of water, so even when you're not drinking it, you want to be aware. So watch this space. We will keep you updated on that water
we've
test.
Got a testing kit,
we do have a testing kit, so it'll be very exciting to see what actually occurs there.
This really is only day 2. We only started using our water filtration system yesterday, because while we're at Hayes, we did run it there, but the first filter, the 50 micron filter, got filthy very quickly. So that said that the water is so bad down there.
Well, it could be one or two things.
Blocking up.
Yeah, it could be that the water was particularly bad down there, and I have to say it did look bad. But there is something that happens at this time of the year. I don't know the scientific name for it, but the canal often looks very dark and brackish and filthy, and a lot of stuff that was on the bottom floats to the top. It's just a phenomenon that happens on the water in the spring drying time. So it could have also been that, to be fair. But what happened is our first filter clogged up very quickly. But we've put a nice fresh one in, and we're monitoring. They should last you, you know, a fair while. Probably the finest filter is the one that has to be replaced the most often, but it's the cheapest. You know, the one. Yeah, sorry, not the finest. The one that's got the biggest holes.
Yeah,
but you know, these are £2 or £3 to replace.
Okay.
Your water drinking filter is the more expensive one, but hopefully that may only be needed to replace once or twice a year. One thing I forgot to say, you might be thinking this is it. There is one other piece that is fitted when you're having a filtration system fitted. So if it's something you're thinking about, listen up. So usually, as Alan was saying, when you are filling up from a water point on the canal, your water hose goes into this little hole here. Do you see it actually says water? We unscrew this, we put the pipe down there, and that goes, you can probably hear it, down into our water tank that Alan was talking about. Well, we actually bypass our water tank with this system because stored water actually can grow bacteria after a little while. So we decided, after a lot of research with the guy who did the system for us, who'd done a great deal of research himself, putting in many systems, he said, bypass your tank, and what we'll do is we'll take the water that's being pumped all the way through these 5 filters down into 2 small accumulator tanks. Okay, accumulator tanks, they're a little bit like Alan, what do you call that tank that we keep our hot water in? The calorifier, right. So they're like 2 little calorifiers. So, and they hold, what would you say, about 20 litres each, something like that?
Something like that. They don't hold a lot.
No, I'm going to say a couple of good washing ups.
Yeah, and as soon as you empty the accumulator tank, the pump kicks in again and fills it back up.
Exactly
again.
so.
I could just give people a quick glance.
Oh yeah, okay, yes.
So let me just do this.
This is.
Now the light level may change because I'm going from a very bright spot to a dark spot.
Now this, guys, by the way, is where I used to store my wine. So for those of you following the wine saga will be very sad to hear I had to remove all my wine from this area and fill it with accumulator tanks instead.
Yeah, well, there's one of the accumulator tanks there, and there's another one just to the side down there. We can't quite see it, but there they are. That's where it is. That's where our water from the canal is stored for usage in our sink and our bathroom as well.
That's it.
So
basically, every time you turn on the tap, you take water from those accumulator tanks. When the accumulator tanks empty, this little beauty over here kicks in and turns itself on. So any other questions, Mr. Denman, on our fabulous water system?
I mean, I know a lot of boaters have said to me they want to hear more about this. And so if you're interested in having a system like this fitted on your own boat, you can. I put my email address at the bottom of this video.
We'll stick it in the description area. You know, where you see the little bit of blurb that describes what we're talking about today. Look down there, and Alan's email address will be there.
Underneath the video, and just email me, and I can give you more information. Okay.
Yeah, and if you want, we can even pass you on the name of the chap who did ours. We thought he was rather fabulous, and he's been great. Just because obviously there's always a few teething problems. Every boat is different, so systems need slight adjustments for each boat. So do get someone who will stay with you for the long run to do those small adjustments that you might need if you find you've got a couple of teething problems. So get in touch if you want that information. We'd be very happy to share the love of endless water.
So Aisha, so how do you feel about having your new water system?
And I feel brilliant.
And having a bath every day.
I am thinking, yes, a bath every single night, perhaps a little glass of champagne, box of chocks, and we'll never argue again about using up too much water, will we? Ever, ever.
That's great.
And life will be perfect.
Okay, that's it.
So yes, so hopefully we will be surviving lockdown, certainly water-wise, with a little luxury, but we'll keep you posted.